Hey, this is the small grid that you see on small grid. I have a Blender file that I just load when I want to make a new texture. I already got everything saved that's supposed to be set. So all you have to do when you want a new texture is load the Blender file. Now I got the BlenderKit add-on installed, which you can search for BlenderKit. It might even be BlenderKit.com. I think that is BlenderKit. It's a free add-on. Of course, they would like you to pay for the, you know, buy the full plan, but I only use the free assets. Once you get this installed in Blender, you get options for materials, scenes, objects, brushes, HDRI, lighting images. But we'll go to textures here, and let's just put tile, like floor tile, and you'll see there's all kinds of materials in here. Now these are procedural textures, most of them, pretty much all of them are procedural textures. So they're not going to look quite like this. They're going to be, a little different. Well, like this one's pretty interesting. This one's pretty interesting. But typically what I'll do is I'll bake the textures. So like this one, for example. Now you're seeing a few elements, not just material, but you're also seeing some reflectivity, some glossiness and all that. However, the small grid still uses the 1.0 terrain paint, so you're not going to be able to use a PBR terrain paint on there. But this would do pretty good as a PBR. On a PBR level. Now you can convert small grid to PBR. That's a little more work, but this material here, if I want to bake it, all I'll do is go to shading here, and you don't have to be worried about any of that. None of that is what you have to worry about. Just go to add texture, image texture, and since the other one's at 1024, you know what, I'll make this one 2048, make it a little better anyway. No alpha channel, you don't need that. And you should only have to go over to here and go to bake. I'll just do a combined bake. You know what, no. Let's just do a diffuse with not the direct and indirect, just the color. And the preview will come up over here. Linear, which now let's leave all that stuff. I was thinking somewhere in there was a way you could tell it to tile automatically. It may be something you can set in the shader, one of these things in here. I'm not exactly sure where all that would be. Alright, this is the bake texture. We'll export it. Well, save it as, rather. Save as. And on the desktop. Actually, if you've already loaded small grid, or if you haven't loaded, go ahead and load your small grid. And you'll want to go to the world editor and save the level so that you have a user folder. I'll show you how to do that. Which I've already done. I already got a folder in there. Hit F11 and here, save level. And what that'll do is in your user folder, it'll create, if I can get back to it, in the user folder, in levels, you'll see small grid. Now I just made an art folder. I don't think there's anything in there when you first save it, but I just make a folder and call it art, and inside of there is where I'll put stuff. So that's a terrain, for example, but you don't have to put it in there. You can put it in the root here. I think the other one is in the root in the install file. Actually, the other one is, I think, in here. But either way, this is where you're going to save the image to. You can make a folder in the art folder if you want to, and just call it, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. new terrain paint. Don't matter, whatever you want to call it. And then in Blender, this is where we'll save that to. In the user folder, levels, small grid, art, new terrain paint, and I don't want any compression. I normally convert these to DDSs, but just for time's sake, I'll just not worry about that right now. So in the terrain tools, the terrain painter here. Well, where's the damn small? Actually, you know what? This is a terrain painter. This isn't a terrain. This is actually a what do you call it? Ground plane. So in the inspector here, the material, you just have to have a material to assign to it, which will just make a material. The material editor. Actually, I guess then you could do a PBR material. Now to come to think of it, because this ain't terrain, this is just basically a big flat mesh. Let's go to material editor. Let's just make a new one, and let's call this new grid. New grid, and let's just put in the color map. So in the art folder, new terrain. There we go. And we'll save it. Oh, yeah, you'll want to turn on your anisotropic filtering. And this is just the basic material. So now if we go to the inspector window, which you know your windows are in here if you don't have them open, except for terrain painter library, that only comes up when you're in your terrain tools, unless you anchor it over here and it stays, but we're not worrying about that. So new grid. And there's our new grid. I'll show you a couple other things. Oh, we could also bake a 4096, make it really look better. So let's do that, shall we? Do a 4096 by 4096, and then it'll look a little better, And we can bake normal maps for it too. That'll make it look even better. Maybe even a glossy map, a roughness map, an ambient occlusion map. You know, you get the idea. You can bake a lot of stuff in here. Diffusion, environment, emission, roughness, normals, ambient occlusion. This is just a basic diffuse. It's not taking into account any ray trace lighting or anything. You probably wouldn't want to do that on something that you're going to repeat, a tile repeat, because then it's going to maybe be lit funny in some places. But yeah, we'll see. We'll save it as, we'll overwrite that one and flip back to the game, and we should have a better texture. Load it in here. You know what? I found sometimes you have to name stuff separately so that it does not get confused. So I just named that one something else. Save it. I guess while we're here, let's bake a normals map too. And they say to bake normals, to bake linear, but I find that actually baking sRGB works great too. But we'll do linear. And we'll bake a roughness or specular. And this is the same process I use to bake textures for new terrain paints for the PBR materials too. It's quite easy to do. Alright, see, that's the normals map. I'll save it as, let's call this one 2. You can name them all if you want to name them. I'm just doing this quick. Bake a roughness map. So I'll probably assign that to the specular channel. Ambient occlusion won't bake because this isn't a three-dimensional object. This is flat, actually. Now it may bake if you have a displacement mapping, but I mean, it says it's got displacement, but I haven't had any luck trying to bake displacement mapping with doing these flat textures like this. I hadn't had any luck doing that. They just bake with nothing. Like I'll show you ambient occlusion. In fact, we'll just do 1024. That'll be quicker, and it'll just be nothing on there. So that's not how you would have to do. That works when you have like a 3D object that you're baking, and you know it actually has some like actual geometry to it. The environmental map. That's what's reflecting. No, that's not going to bake good either, flat. I forgot. Yeah, that don't bake right either. You'd have to have this thing. I don't even want to try to explain that. You'd have to have this have some kind of shape to it. Like you'd have to be subdivided many times, and you'd have to have some kind of basic shape. Let's go to edit mode, and I thought I just subdivided that. Subdivide. Let's do about 100 subdivisions. You don't really need that many. And then let's just pick one of these vertexes here. Turn on proportional editing. Move it up a bit. Just a bit. Just enough just to give that just a bend, a slight bend. So that when we bake it now, it's going to have some actual, you know. It didn't do anything, did it? It looks the same. Hold on a minute. Maybe I didn't move it enough. Oh, you have to unwrap. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see. Yeah, I don't know what I have no use for this, honestly. Not for this. I mean, but I'm just saying you can bake many different kinds of things in here. Let's get back to the game. It's getting sidetracked now. You do that often. You get sidetracked. Alright, normal map. Let's do the specular. We'll put that roughness map in the specular map. Let's see, detail map. I didn't bake a detail map. The easy way to do a detail map, go to your photo editor, and let's import in that first baked image. Let's see, yeah, no terrain paint. Here we go. This is the 4096 one here. So what I'll do is a high pass filter on it. Filters, enhance, high pass. Photoshop has a high pass filter also. I usually only do like a standard division of like 1 and do the contrast to like 1.5, but it all depends on your image. You may want to do more of or it's actually standard deviation, not division. Yeah, but we'll export this as, and in this one we'll just call this something different. It's actually like a detail map, but I'm just call it that. Just trying to get something over there quickly. I don't want any compression. I don't want to see no artifacts. A lot of people don't know you can go in the asset browser for these kinds of textures, and you can where's my damn, I don't see the folder. No, I'm not crazy, I don't see it though. Didn't I make a folder called New Terrains? I was almost certain I did, but I don't see it. There it is. Let's see. I knew I made it. All right. So yeah, you can just drag this. You can drag these like this. Well, you should be able to drag them like this. Any other time, this is not a problem. I have no idea why it's acting like this. No idea whatsoever. We'll just not worry about that. We'll just load it the normal way. I don't know why. Alright, now look at this. This is tiling. If you want it to match, you would do like 1-to-1. But this is for doing like tiles. You could do that if you wanted to do that. And what that would do is if you added a second normals map, it would follow that. So like detailed normal map goes with the detail. So if the detail's scaled, yeah, or tiled, whatever you call it, the detailed normal follows whatever detail's doing. And you can increase the amount that it has, but I don't like that. I'd rather just have it match 1-to-1 the other one. Here's another thing you can do. You can do well, you can affect the roughness also. You can also do advanced. Go to reflection and tell it to reflect the level, but it's going to reflect 100%. So you got to plug in another material and reflect. Oh, I did put one in there. I did. That must have happened when I was trying to drag that over there and it was acting crazy. But I'll usually just stick the first image in there, and then I'll adjust this slider so that it only reflects a little bit. And you should be able to see some of that stuff reflecting in here, I would think. But I don't know. You would think. Alright, so that's one texture. Let's make another one. Let's show you how easy it is. Let's get back to Blender. That's not Blender. That's Blender. I'm gonna reload the file. So if you happen to miss the first time, you'll see it again. Load the bake.blender file, and in there, turn on your viewport shader. Pick a material that you want to bake. I'll just put tiles, because it brought up quite a few lovely floor tiles. Let's see what all we got in here. We got many different tiles. Like a bathroom there. I don't know. About That looks similar to the other one though. I don't know. Let's do something completely different. Yeah, we can try that, I guess. It's not going to reflect like that though. Or this white tile here. Oh, here's a checkerboard. Yeah, we'll do that one. Alright, so shader. We'll add a material. Add texture image. I'll do another 4096 by 4096. We don't need an alpha channel. Over here in this tab, go to bake. And we'll just bake a diffuse without the lighting and indirect lighting. Today, here we go. So we'll save images. I'll just call this another number. And we'll bake a normals for it and a roughness. Normal and a roughness, and that should be good. But you don't even have to bake the normals and roughness if you don't want to do all that. Image. Oh, I didn't change that to linear color space for the normals, but I'm telling you, it'll be all right. It works. I was just going by what um, one of the developers had said, but I have no problem using the RBG color space baked normals. I'll bake the roughness, and then that'll be good. While that's doing that, where's the photo editor? I'll load in that first image that we just saved of the new bake and import it into here and make a detail map. So there it is. You also can do a photo filter of generic normal mapping if you prefer to do those kind. I don't like them kind that much, but sometimes they don't do too bad actually. Sometimes they work out pretty good. We'll save both different ones. We can save that though and just see the difference. Export as. Let's call that 7. Or I don't remember what the other number was from Blender. I don't want to override anything. I hate doing things twice. Alright, now filters, enhance, high pass filter. I'll just use that and export as, and I'll just name this detail. Alright. Oh. Save our roughness map. I think that should be, I think roughness, they do better if they're black and white. But don't forget you click black and white, or you'll be saving what you think or everything in You'll be trying to save other ones, and you won't realize that you left it on black and white. Just remember that. I do that all the damn time. So let's change this here to the new one. That one. And you see it's still got the normals from the other material. So we can swap it out. Specular, change that to the new roughness. See, when you see it red like that, that just means it's black and white. But actually, it actually added damn red. Made me a liar. It doesn't do that on the PBR material, only on the old non-PBR. I forget about that. Yep. See, that's why I don't usually like fooling with this thing here. I just usually just save everything as sRGB, just for that reason. Reflectivity. Let's see. I'll just plug that map in, and the detail normal and normals. Oh yeah, I said I would show the other normal map. So the other one, this is the one that did the filter, I think. The other one was that one. This is the one that was baked in Blender, not the one that had a generic filter. And yeah, I guess one could argue, nah, the photo filter did a better normals map. That looks kind of good with that reflection of the sky, though. Yeah, these checkerboards always do this weird infinity pattern. It really used to look bad, like in the old days when like resolutions were like 320 by 200 and such, and they really looked bad back then. And of course, you can switch over to PBR, make this a PBR material. They're a little more difficult to work with, but you get new stuff like metallic. Where I made some notes here because this is a little confusing. That the new black is metallic, black is roughness. That's not what that's supposed to say. White is the cracks and crevices of a roughness map. Does that make sense? What is white is cracks and crevices. I'm not sure how to spell that. Opacity, black is invisible. Things are a little different. So let's just go back. So the metallic map, I'll just plug in the roughness map. Now with PBR, you can adjust the intensity of the normal and the detail normal, the different strengths also, which this isn't a very good normals map. This is one case where I believe the photo filter normals look better. It's rare, I think, but I think actually this is the case for this time. Roughness, plug that one there in. Then you got the amount of roughness. And you also got ambient occlusion, which I'll just cheat, put this in. And advanced. There's a lot of maps you can add for a lot of different effects on many different layers. There's many layers. You can have a second layer, third and fourth layer. But then the way you would switch between layer 1 and 2 is you would have an opacity map that would slide. But you don't have to have the whole thing transition. You can have just specific things. Remember I said black is invisible? So what is black ends up being what is, what's supposed to end up being transparent. let's see. Let's put the first map in there, the very first one we baked. That one. And yeah, black is transparent, so you see what is more black, you can see through more than you can the white when I do that transition there. But since this is not just pure black and white, it is a little gray in the white. That's why some of that's coming through on the black. But yeah, you can do many different things with the PBR. That isn't even barely scratching the surface. There's lots of different options. And you got glossiness also. So yeah, well, there's nothing to define the difference. It's just a blend between the two. There's nothing to contrast it with. Oh, I forget. Well, you can't have detailed normal map on two different layers. It'll sometimes crash. And this isn't even getting into what the different UV level layers do. I don't even know how to fully explain all that my damn self. I'm just a common dummy. I'm only slightly smarter than a couple sacks of rocks. So there's a lot I still don't know. But a lot of the PBR stuff, I do a lot of it. Just switching a lot of different things around, trying different things. I'm not sure the results half the time. Yeah, and that's just two layers. I mean, and then you got emissiveness, and you got the list goes on and on. So yeah, that's one way you can make some materials. I'll share this Blender file though, so anybody can load it up in Blender and bake their own stuff. And don't forget to save your material, because I forget all the time. I'll reload the level and say, oh man, I didn't save anything, and I do it all over again. I'll zip these files up too and include them, so you'll have these if you want to mess with these. It won't be no problem. And let me know if there's any questions, but I think that's pretty much it for this. I can't think of anything else.